Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
But why do you not have energy today?
It's December. Can you
And?
imagine it's December? Like we're at the end of the year. We've made it to the final stretch.
But that doesn't explain why you don't have energy.
No, I have, and it's just end of year fatigue.
But it's meant to be getting all exciting, Christmas box and all that jazz.
I know, but I don't know about you. Like, it's just like I'm feeling that end of year, and like work is busy. Like, it just feels like everything is just happening. But hopefully, we'll have our rest and all that stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, people, welcome to our episode of Girl in Skies podcast.
Yes, with me, Natasha.
And Xolie.
And I sometimes go by Nat.
Sometimes go by Michelle.
Yes, Michelle. I like that orange on you. It looks really nice.
Thank you very much. So she's going to walk through the door and the first question will be, why are you wearing my clothes? Like I didn't give birth to her.
We better make it quick before she comes.
Make it real quick. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so episode 61, The Feeling Station. Woo!
Yeah, that was like a fire episode. Like shout outs to big up to Tinto. I think recording was such fun with him. He's such an easy guy to get along with. He's got such knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Knowledge. Tinto. You get rubbed. I don't know. Like he'll just come with big words and a smile on his face, and then you're like, oh, okay, yes, you are right. We weren't having it. It was such a good episode. Such a good episode. So do you want to give us a rundown of what we talked about?
Yes, guys. So if you haven't listened to it, The Filling Station, episode 61, we had Tinto, who is the host of The Filling Station. So if you have not checked out that podcast, please do. And yeah, we just had a chat about his podcast, and then we got into some dilemmas that two of you guys had sent to us. And Tinto, Tinto gave his perspective, which was like quite interesting, quite cutthroat, right?
It really was. Like I think I know we're going to go into the comments, but there's a few people like I was looking for this comment, but I couldn't find it. I've forgotten who tweeted it, saying something along the lines of Tinto should be a psychologist because his perspective is just different. I'm like, no, it's not it's English. It's just his use of English. Do you know what I mean? Like this guy, no, jokes aside, and I even said that to him. I was like, no, I like the way you think. He breaks things down. He's got his unique way of kind of analyzing things. He deconstructs things and then he reconstructs them. So no, shout out to Tinto, and do check out his episode. Do check out his podcast, The Feeling Station.
Yes. Just going through some comments. I'm going to start with YouTube. So on YouTube, at Enchanted Kitchen, Shemaine says, brilliant team, loved it. And then Tebe, go, I think hopefully I get this right, says, Tinto, your analogies, bro. Why am I only finding out about these ladies? Laughed throughout. And then Khululegani Konza says, Tinto Tandizindo, you rock, my guy. Wise counsel springs from wisdom. Wise counsel means best advice. Only the wise can give the best advice, and only the wise can receive the best advice.
Nice.
Approval. And then Instagram. So now Instagram, Girl in Skies. At I am Gama Tamo says, this episode was meant to be. Thank you, Filling Station, Girl in Skies, for making it happen. And Za Knows says, Filling Station brought some facts, loved the energy, great episode as always. And In the Eye of a Storm said, looking good. And then Mandlovu Watcher says, my gosh, this looks like an album cover. The picture that we took, all three of us.
Sure.
And then Love Child, ZW said, I am listening to this tonight. And then at Sapphire _ MADT, so commenting on like the dilemma with the lady who's frustrated about her husband's spending habits and how he was sending money to his family. Said to the money couple, she could put money in a long-term investment continuously, keep reinvesting. If she wants to work around it, givers rarely change, or if they adjust in any way, it takes time. You work around, manage it, especially if you want to be together. So yeah, I think that was
sound. I was that.
I get kind of like I guess what Tindo was saying, like you can't make that person change, so you now have to. If it means now you being an investment guru.
Do it. But yeah, so also on Twitter there was quite a lot of chats, I guess, about that episode. At Normus says, just caught up on this and I love it. Nicely done at Golden Skies at the filling station. At Row Your Boats, beg your pardon, says, oh sorry, this is a comment from another thing. I will not read it right now. It will be pertinent later on. So at Tete _ Ayan says, at filling station should give us more deets about this masseuse in States. You see, she was very particular that she wants details of the masseuse in America. So hopefully you get those details soon and let us know how things go. At Nessa Madge says, I honestly don't know how some people think it's okay. And this is, and just to give context, this is the happy endings massages. She says, we are just excusing cheating. And then she went on to say, the recent episode, there were lessons there, but however, I'm a happy ending saying it was like, saying it was indoda le ukuthi sonke wayithola yini umuntu lo engakaphenduli. So I'm interested to know if you got an answer or not. And also we put out a poll on Twitter asking people, do you consider happy endings, a massage with a happy ending cheating? And a huge 62% said no, it's not. Very interesting.
That was rigged poll.
Yeah, it was just like, so then someone, this is feedback on Tinto says, you got some serious knowledge with very deep logical explanation. You didn't just talk. And Will Desiree Moore says that she loved Girlies Guys and Filling Station crossover. Love both your podcasts. So yeah, so we had quite a lot of comments as well. And then I think on the episode we'd also talked about scheduling, like some activities, like scheduling chores, scheduling shopping, scheduling amacansi. And Tinto at the filling station said, bro, imagine saying to your babe, on Wednesday, 25 November, we're having sex at 8:24 p.m. in between the news commercials. I was like, okay. But yeah, and so thank you to him again for that great episode. He sent us a message saying that spending time with us was magical. Just spending time with us was lovely. How we have incredible chemistry and their vibe is correct. I was like,
yes, the vibe is correct.
The vibe is correct. So yeah, no, it was such great fun recording with him. And I think in future, we should look to having him on at one of our future episodes.
In the near future.
In the near future. You never know people.
Right? Yeah. No, that's really, really good. And then I wanted to give a shout out, and I have to do this on the pod. So a big shout out to Tor. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. So then, what did I
I don't know how old he is, but the reason I have to give Tor a birthday shout out is because Tor has been like, yeah, like he has been I called him the Zoom blesser.
Our Zuma guys, without him, we wouldn't have been able to do like during lockdown, those interviews with Advocate Mahere, with Dr. Nkosana Moyo, Sunyati. Like, have you guys listened to those episodes? Like, you need to check them out. The cook off, like all those things where you need more than two people to have or to host like interviews and stuff. We wouldn't have been able to do it, to host meetings.
Exactly. So shout out to Mto, like we really, really, really appreciate you. We always keep telling you guys that, you know what, so much goes into like making the pod and everything. So
yeah,
like thank you, Mto, because you know, because have you seen the Zoom prizes? Although at some point we will have to stop bothering him.
I know. Listen, thank you so much, Mto. Happy birthday. May you live long and prosper in that company where you're at, where you get free Zoom accounts so that we can also prosper. Amen.
Amen. Okay. So actually this is a good segue because actually I was about to put his business out there.
Okay.
No, I think he did in the guys, because I was gonna say like he works in IT.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah. Or tech, you know, I can never get the terms right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So for this episode, just wanted to have a conversation about what tech and phones and all that stuff. So this is after watching The Social Dilemma.
Yes.
And just wanted us to have a conversation about that. Did you watch The Social Dilemma?
I did, and I watched it some time ago. I think a few weeks ago I watched it. And I if I'm really honest, I couldn't watch it all in one setting because I found it quite disturbing, if I'm honest. Like, the importance of data, the importance of my privacy, and how it is used to kind of, I felt like it was a form of controlling. Do you know that somebody can use your search history to kind of determine what you like? And yes, there's advantages to that, but sometimes I hate the thought that, you know, I think of something or I speak about like if I talk to you about, you know, oh yeah, so I'm going to Tanzania next month, and then the next thing on my Instagram I'm seeing, oh, visit Tanzania, flights to Tanzania. I'm like, am I going mad, or like what is going on here? So whilst I think there's advantages to it, I think there's an element that privacy is like, there's things that I don't want to be out there, if that makes sense. Maybe that doesn't make sense, but I don't know. I think it's quite creepy.
It does. So, like for the people that haven't watched it, so the Social Dilemma is a documentary that is on Netflix, and it features a lot of the, you know, these guys who worked in the Silicon Valley for Google, Facebook, the big tech companies, YouTube as well, and essentially it's it's interesting because it's people that work to develop things like Gmail, app and certain apps that we use, and essentially they're trying to show the dangers of, I guess, how we become addicted to social media and to some of these apps that are now part of our daily lives, right? So I guess that's one point, and then then they do touch on sort of like the data that we freely give, because one of the things that they say is, if there isn't a product, you are the product.
Yes. I was like,
yeah,
it's deep.
Exactly. So first of all, I just wanted to kind of get from you in terms of because what they kind of brought to the fore, which I think is something that has come up before, but it's just like how it's changed the way we interact with our phones, where our attention goes. I don't know if you've heard this phrase. There's this new phrase that I came across called the attention economy. Like, it's an actual economy
Mm.
So it basically saying like, you know, like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram,
Yeah.
what they want is for you to spend as much time on those apps, right? Because the more time you are spending on those apps, there's a number of things. Advertising, right?
Yes.
Because what they can do is they can show advertisers that, you know what, Xolie, or you know, the different profiles they have, that she's, you know, that spends X amount of time on our app, so it means that the advertising value is up, right?
Okay.
Exactly. And and that's why like things like YouTube, because it relies on like people putting stuff on YouTube and all that. So I wanted to ask you, on your phone, right? Do you know what your average screen time is? Do you remember?
No, but I can access it quite easily.
Yeah. Because do you like get notifications that tell you?
Yeah. So I get it every Monday, but I hardly pay attention to it. I know for today, I have spent 41 minutes on WhatsApp, 41 minutes on YouTube, 37 minutes on Instagram, 21 minutes on Twitter, 18 minutes on my messages, and 28 minutes on my mail.
That's really cool.
But this is just one day, right? Because and also I was at work, so I haven't really had my phone. But I'm sure like on my weekends it peaks, and like in the evenings is when I probably use a lot more of my phone. Yeah. How about you? Where are you at already?
I am so like, wait, sorry, where do you find this information, by the way? Where do I go?
I literally swiped. I swiped right.
Ooh. Ooh, this is bad. So I have spent 1 hour, 8 minutes on WhatsApp.
Okay.
I've spent an hour on Instagram.
Wow.
It says that I've spent 44 minutes on YouTube.
Okay, same.
It says that I have spent 3 hours, 2 minutes on Twitter.
Daddy, guys.
And I've spent an hour and 18 minutes on Clubhouse. Yo,
that's
this is
new thing.
Yes.
Wow.
So yeah, I definitely am.
Yeah, you are.
Am hooked. And it says my productivity, like they're saying 43 minutes.
Oh yeah, right up at the top.
Yeah.
So what you get for your social? So social, entertainment, productivity. And I don't know what productivity.
Oh God. Social is at like 5 hours.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that's basically what they talk about in the social dilemma.
Yeah.
But what I find interesting, so there's this guy that I've been listening to. Well, so he's on the social dilemma documentary, a guy called Tristan Harris, who is a former Google employee.
Yes, I remember that guy.
Exactly. I think he featured a lot on there. So I came across him also when he was talking to Joe Rogan, a YouTube video and then he was talking about basically, I think his whole thing is he has now co-founded an organization called the Center for Humane Technology.
Right. Okay.
Because what I thought was interesting, right, was in the social dilemma, he says that it got to the point where he was now addicted to Gmail.
Mail, yes. I remember that.
And then he says...
Do you not think that, sorry, before you finish, do you not think that... I found that quite interesting because I I am interested in my mail, and every time I go onto my mail, like it's something that comes to my mind that I remember that guy saying that he was addicted. Like he says he was addicted to the sound, like when in that notification of you that you've got mail. Is that weird? Like, is that not a weird thing to have like such an attraction to? Do you know what I mean?
I know what you're saying, but I don't like with Gmail, like I don't know, I don't feel the same way, but I got what he meant. I will be honest with you, there is a certain high that you sometimes feel when maybe say on Instagram, you go on your Instagram and then you see like the red like heart thing because it shows like the notifications that you've got. You know, you go on Twitter and then you see like, you know, 20, sometimes it's a high, sometimes it's an overwhelming feeling.
Yeah.
But it evokes something where it's just like you're seeing all these notifications that are coming up. And for me, I think it's interesting because it makes what I'm trying to be better at is manage my time so that just because I get like a notification like coming up on WhatsApp, whatever, I don't then stop what I'm doing and go. But then the reality is once you get the ping, 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 like sometimes you do stop. And then all of a sudden you're now dealing with something that you had not put on your list of things to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you find that sometimes?
I agree 100%. I think I am, and I've said this to you, like, and I say it to people as well. Like I even say to like just people close to me, because when I look at someone's phone and I see like there's loads of notifications, I find it annoys me. Like I like a clean I don't know. I don't like to see all that, all the notifications, like, so for mail, for messages. So I try and clear that. So sometimes, like, you know, it may mean that I'm not reading. This is really bad. But it may mean that, like, especially for group chats, like I sometimes, you know, I'll skim through the messages just so I don't get that. I find that I'm worse at it now because there's just so much mail, especially messages. But things like my mail, I clear my mail regularly. So I will not have any notifications. Where the like, you know, that excitement or that buzz that you're talking about comes in. Yeah, sometimes, but I struggle. And I think you know this most about me, that I get overwhelmed quite quickly, or not quite quickly, but I get overwhelmed sometimes with a lot of stuff coming. So I prefer a bit of pace. And how I do things, like I structure it in my day. I reward myself, right? Because instead of being on my phone the whole time, I will reward myself. I will do something productive, or do, you know, maybe just cross something off my to-do list, and then I'll look at my phone. I'll log on to Twitter, see what's happening, clear my notifications, respond to a few messages, tweet a few things, and then I'll put my phone aside, do something else, and then I go back. And then after I've done that, I'll go and see, okay, what's happening on Instagram? Okay, at this point in time, let me see what's happening on WhatsApp, and then send a few messages. So that's kind of how I kind of program my day, because sometimes I find, Ruti, if I'm out of the scene for some time, or whether it's on messages, then I come back and there's like 60 messages, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like I then feel like, oh, okay, let me just deal with this somehow, some way, so that I don't get overwhelmed with it. But yeah, I see the excitement with the, you know, with the pings of, oh my, like somebody's liked my picture. And I see it a lot, especially with Utamara. Utamara, she'll time when she's posting her pictures. She's like, oh, you're not going to post, I don't know, post in the morning because people are up, Jani. And then she'll like, oh, I'm going to put my phone away. And then I'll just come back and see, you know, but I'm like, really? No need.
Yeah.
But I think I consume social media differently from others. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think I like the reward system. Like I know I need to cut my social media consumption drastically. Like, because I think
why do you feel the need to do that? Because like I don't know if I should say I agree. I can see why you'd want to do that, but what are your reasons?
I think for me, I do find that I don't get a lot of sleep. Like I'm not getting as much sleep. I don't want to attribute it, solely to social media. I think personally, just as a person, like I'm a bit of a night owl, right? So I feel like I'm most like at night is when I'm more creative and have ideas. So when people are now sleeping at 9, that's when like my brain is now like, doing its thing. And then I find that like when I've got my phone, I don't know, that like I literally can spend an hour plus like in bed, like go on my phone.
Yeah.
Right.
Same.
And then I end up going way, to be honest, I sleep like at like 1 in the morning. That's like my constant.
It could never be me. And this is
I know.
The way I love my sleep. Twitter doesn't stand a chance over my sleep. Nah. So I know, like, and I know I get what you're saying, that you're most productive at nighttime, and that's when your ideas are flowing, but that's and I think for me, for starters, like I said, I really value my sleep. I do get like people who say that they're very productive at nighttime, because I know sometimes I'm in bed and I think, oh my goodness, I should do this, and then if I try to remember it in the morning, I'll have forgotten it. So sometimes I try to sleep with a notepad by my bedside, and I'll write down these ideas that come to my head, or if there's someone I want to, like, I should have a message so and so in such a long time, I should message them. I'll try and write it down, because I notice that the moment I pick up my phone in the middle of the night, that's automatic blue screen in my face. I'm up, and then I'm now curious. What else is happening? I feel like I've been shut out from the world for the past 5 minutes. What's been going on?
Yeah. No, it's actually interesting. And then like another thing that I was thinking about that sort of came from sort of like the social dilemma thing is, so when they talk about, so this guy Tristan Harris talking about designing humane technology, because if you think about it, like, as the way they describe it is like a few people have come up with these apps and these systems, right, which then are taking over the whole world. And this is a few people that are in California, not representative of the whole world. And now literally we're consuming these things without factoring in, what does humane look like? How do we make things less addictive, or caring about, or maybe making technology have a conscious
yes
kind of, as it were. And it kind of led me to think about, so there's the whole like fake news, disinformation thing. And this is something that I've been thinking about is, so when was the last time you think you had an original thought?
I think there's a few things that come to mind. And most of them I've kind of shared with you as well. So I don't know what you mean by original, because sometimes, you see something that's working well for someone and you're like, oh, there's a way in which you can emulate this to kind of better our people, or better me. So, but I think I've had, like, I think we had a discussion the other day and I was saying, like, but we should try and do something. We should try and do something collectively, for me, that was an original thought. But at the same time, I can see that it's a model that is out there that is working for a certain group of people. And maybe I'm just thinking that, okay, but if there's a gap in the market for this group of people, and this is where we can go in. So yeah, that's an interesting question, actually.
So it's something that I always kind of think about. I think we've had conversations about, the fine line of really, like, is this you? Like, are you being original? And I'll tell you what, like when we went on our break between season 2 and season 3, one of the things that I did is I went on a Twitter break. So I think I was off Twitter for probably a month. Like, I just deleted the app from my phone. And I think the only app where I was like Instagram. And for some time, like even on Instagram, even on my stories, I was like posting quite intermittently or like, close friends and stuff. And I tell you what, that time I literally I felt rested, right? And by default, I was spending less time on my phone. However, I will say that I did find that I was now going back on Facebook a lot more, like trying to fill in that Twitter time. But what I found was, like, for me, I was just like, social media, I will be honest, like, I do think it does in some way dictate what I care about today, what I'm angry about today, what I'm happy about today. Because if you go on and I say Twitter because I feel like Twitter is really like,
no, I get it.
Speakers call. It's like there may be a subject that you care little about, and now you're exercised about it because of Twitter.
Yeah, but it's just due to, like, you listen to things like when you watch things like all the Social Dilemma, it's down to the algorithms that they use. It's down to them knowing the things that you search about and manipulating that into your feed, into your Twitter, whether it's your Instagram. So I know that, for a hand on my heart, the things that appear the most for me is things like inequality amongst Black people. Like, that is constantly something that I see, like, a lot on Twitter. I see a lot. So I see, and I see a lot of things like Black people winning, Black people, wherever they may be, but it's their success, because that is kind of what I am interested in. And you move on to my Instagram, it's kind of the same thing as well, and more about hair, lose weight, and all this stuff. So, if you look, but I feel like it's literally down to the more, and I think when they were talking about the social dilemma, they're assessing how much time you spend. Like, for example, if an ad comes up, they assess how much time you're on that. If you quickly go onto something else, then that's fine. And I've noticed as well, if I look at one thing on hair, for example, for hair growth, like the next few days, that is all I am seeing. It's like completely controlled. What I found most interesting about and I don't know if they mentioned it on the Social Dilemma, if I'm picking this up from somewhere else, was how Barack Obama used Facebook, whatever, the algorithms, to help to win the election. But that's just the power of social media. That's the power of data. That's the power of the things that you search. That's the power of the things that the things that you're passionate about, that you look up, and they just constantly it's like they regurgitate it constantly, and they're feeding into you. And that's where that's where my problem is. It's like, we are just caught up in this warp, in this vicious, it's almost like a vicious circle where you are in it. You are well aware of what is going on, but I almost feel like there is no out, because you're in it, and it feeds you. It feeds your desire, and you want to know more. And it's like we're just constantly told that knowledge is power. So you search more, and they give you more. And then you realize, actually, there's a lot more to the more that I actually, the more, there's a lot more to the more that I thought about. It's like a deep, deep, deep well.
Yeah. No, so and it's interesting that you talked about like how they were using Facebook and all that stuff to manipulate like Obama was probably one of the first candidates to really use data and social media of like targeted ads and stuff. And it got me thinking about there was this other documentary on Netflix called The Great Hack. So The Great Hack looks at, there's this company called Cambridge Analytica, which is they've closed down now, but it was accused of manipulating the 2016 elections where Trump won, and Brexit as well. And I think there was something else as well. But so here's my question, because the argument is that literally, you know what you were saying about the experience that you have on social media is, you know, curated according to your likes or whatever, which is, you can almost say, okay, that's fine. If you look for hair, okay, fair enough, it's fine. Because I mean, come on, we've got to the point where I can say to Siri, I mean, I'm talking right now. If I say avocados, trust you, when I go on my phone, they'll be like we've just accepted it, like it's fine.
Yeah.
But then what about where, you know, because the argument is manipulation, when you manipulate people. But do you think that, okay, this is not an argument because we know that it has been found that some people were manipulated, but is it really I don't know. Do you think you could be easily manipulated? So here's the thing. So for example, like I know someone like who I'm close to in my family, whatever, who loves Trump, right? So every time I talk to him, when I tell you the things
Trump.
He's a Trump fan, right? Every time I talk to him, it is so amazing that we have two different views. He will say to me, oh, but did you see online that they were saying this video of Joe Biden doing this, Joe Biden's son? Or have you heard of Pizzagate? Or have you heard of, you know, this conspiracy theory? And I'm like, to be honest, on my social media, even on my YouTube, it never comes out. But because he's clicked on whatever, that's all that comes up. Yeah. So it's kind of like, I don't know what you think about that, because
do I feel like I could be manipulated by the things that I am about?
Maybe even election, or how you feel about a certain cause, because that's now. But I don't know if it's manipulation or is it tailoring.
That's an interesting question, because consciously I automatically want to say no, because I am aware of what I like. I'm aware about what I'm passionate about. But unconsciously, I'm also well aware that sometimes there's a lot of repetition. If you see, and this is how we learn things, isn't it? It's by repetition. You know, you see something over and over again, and it becomes, you learn that either it's a behavior or you learn that fact. So it's tricky. It's such a fine line to actually draw, because the honest truth is I don't know. I want to truly believe that my mind is certain, like, you know, actually my mind is certainly made up about some things. I feel the manipulation would come into maybe strengthening your beliefs into something. Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes you can be like, oh, you know what? We need to pay more attention to the planet. Gosh, I'm not going to get a lot about save the planet. But, you know, I might, and I feel like, you know, we need to recycle, we need to do this. But I wonder if I started seeing a lot more about the effects of not recycling, the effects of the animal, the whales and the sharks being killed by the plastic that we use, or the masks that we're using right now, and the effects that has on if I see a lot more of that, I wonder if I can then be manipulated to kind of like, okay, you know what, I'm dropping the podcast. I'm actually going, instead of recording on a Monday, I'm going to go and campaign against, do you see what I mean? So I think it's a difficult question to answer for me personally. I don't think that I have a weak mind that someone can come and be like, oh, you know what, this is something that you need to direct your attention to. If I'm already not there already. How about you? Like, what are your thoughts?
I think I kind of agree, but then I think, like what you say, that a lot of what we see just confirms our bias. So now, like, I try to actively just, but maybe that's just the type of person I am. Like, I'll actively go to spaces where I'm like, I want to hear the other side, which is why, like, I've always said, I know, like, it's a joke. Like, I'm always like, oh, you know, I want to listen to, like, my toxic masculinity podcasts and stuff, like the Joe Buttons and all that. Just because because if I were to just curate it from my own sort of like timeline, you know, I would have like a certain view. I'm not saying that their view is fine, but sometimes it's good to get like the others to understand how they think. Even people like Joe Rogan, he's really good because he's very, like, I just have respect for just how his mind works and the type of guests that he has on. People that, you know, I would vehemently disagree with, but I still go there to be like, okay, I just want to hear. But I do think that probably to some extent I could be manipulated. Yeah.
But that's, you know, you're talking about the other side, and that's, and you know, I feel as you get older, it's like more like critical analysis, isn't it? You understand that there is no or not that there isn't, but you can't really draw absolute statements in things, because there's always an opposing view. And when as a person, you need to appreciate that there's, you know, even though you 100% believe things that that this is the way things should be, there's always going to be somebody who does not necessarily agree or push your agenda. So there's an element of being critical and stepping into spaces where you're like, okay, fine. So right now I'm talking about the empowerment of women, but there's men who do not necessarily believe that. And why do they not think that? And then being able to assess and being able to and understand, not really understand, but have a sense of direction of where they're coming from, so that when you are speaking with them, you can maybe be able to put your views accurately, because you know they do not necessarily believe the end all that, like, women empowerment is important. Do you see what I mean? So I think as you are more in spaces where such conversations are happening, you understand that there's not always going to be one absolute view on things.
Yeah.
That's not always right.
But another thing that I was thinking about was, like, I was kind of now like, like, what is this angle of the social dilemma? Because I'm like, okay, because I feel like they did really give us solutions. I mean, they were like, use social media less, right?
Yeah.
But then, or if you can, go off the grid, right?
Honey. How do you do that?
Exactly. So now I was kind of like, you know, and this guy, Tristan Harris, like, he has a podcast called Undivided Attention that I've started listening to, which is really, really interesting, like all this techie stuff. And like I said, co-founded the Center for Humane Technologies, which, you know, I think is a really good thing, because sort of sidestepping, even if you think about artificial intelligence, you know, the story that came out that with the passports, I think in the UK, the facial recognition, that it couldn't recognize brown and black faces. And that just means that at the design point, that there was no diversity. No one even thought, like, you know.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing. But then I'm also kind of thinking, are they creating an industry which then sort of, I don't know, addresses that? I'm not saying it's bad, but I was trying to look at because I was like, there must be a catch. I mean, we're on Netflix watching it. And then after Netflix, we go back and tweet about the social dilemma.
Yeah. And we're
And
talking about it, and it's just building like algorithms on us as well. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Like I did think, Kuti, why are these people telling us this, it almost feels like it should be sealed information, like why
employees.
It's like, why are you giving me crack when you know that I'm already hooked on it? It's like you're being a supplier, basically, and you're like, oh, well, you're smoking this. It's harmful.
Yeah.
If you want to come out of it, stop. But here you go. In the meantime, just here's, I don't know, a milligram or gram or whatever it is. That's the this used to weigh.
No, it's interesting. Just I guess a final sort of point from me. Another thing that I thought was interesting was the concept of digital colonization.
Right.
So basically, what these people are saying is, so apparently it is as we've said, that you have a group which is of a few people that own like so much data, like have so much sort of like data on you, but actually it's owned by so they I guess they divvy it up into like the global north, which I guess is like the Western world, and the global south, which would then be like your Africa, Middle East, and everything. So that the creators of these things that we're using, Google, Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, they're all in the global north, and like just a few people, but actually dictating how the data is used sort of like everywhere. So another thing I came across was that apparently, so I guess in a way we are talking about sort of like data as in like a cloud, whatever. However, Facebook is now they are, let me see if I can find the link. They are now putting basically like there's a project that they've started called To Africa, which basically is trying to they're saying, they're trying to address 1.3 billion people in Africa that are not connected, right? So they want there to be more connectivity, right? Okay. Hear me out. But then to do that, with the infrastructure, there are cables that are sort of like in sea, but some of them going through land, right? To sort of help with that. So on one side, if you think about it, it's kind of like, okay, first of all, what negotiations are happening between Facebook and some of these countries where the cable would be going through? Does it mean that because Facebook wants this infrastructure to be there, will they overlook ways that these governments may abuse social media? Take, for example, Zimbabwe. I think they said like last year, whenever, I think there were 27 incidents across Africa where social media was closed because they didn't want people to have access to it. Yeah. But then it makes you think like, actually, maybe say a company like Facebook, right? And how it relates to, say, a country like Zimbabwe, whatever. Who has the bigger power there? I would say Facebook, right?
Of course. Yes.
So in a way, it makes us more connected, right? But if you had a functioning government, you would still want them to have control in terms of just the connectivity and what's allowed into that geographical space.
Yeah.
Right.
Like what's trying to do.
Exactly. But on the other side, like if you're in Zim, maybe you're kind of like, actually, I'd rather be by proxy governed by Facebook, because if they do the infrastructure in such a way that these people cannot close it or whatever. So I think it's just a sort of like an interesting sort of concept. And just one last point.
I like that called it digital colonization. Because again, it's when we talk about the importance of data and privacy and all these things, it's a small group of people going in to try and control and manipulate larger groups of people, which and I see the whole, the infrastructure, yes, but then it's how these things are actually introduced into like places like Africa, like all this is it the South you called it, like places that are in Africa, is how these concepts are then introduced and how they benefit more from it than the people in Africa. Do you see what I mean? When it comes to you're talking about ads, you're talking about how they get richer. And yes, people are more connected. Yes, I am now able to maybe FaceTime my Gogo in Cholocho there. But what we don't see is how the North get richer through through using people in the South. And I think that for me is a big issue.
Yeah. And that's the issue, you're right. Because like there was an article in Al Jazeera that said that in South Africa, for example, Google and Facebook dominate the online advertising industry and are considered an existential threat to local media. Uber has captured so many of the traditional taxi industry that drivers have been petrol bombed in the South Africa taxi wars. They say similar battles have broken out in Kenya. They say, meanwhile, Netflix is not only pulling subscribers away from local TV services, they are buying up content in Africa, right? The streaming giant is now the number one source of internet traffic across the world, right?
Across the world.
Yes. So I think it and then like what you're saying, that people be subscribing to Netflix but again, then there's the convenience side. But it's interesting to kind of just see that maybe in 20-30 years we'll look back and be like, oh no, that was so bad. We gave these companies so much of our data.
It's true. But it's certainly an interesting conversation. It's funny, I was listening to something, I wish I'd paid more attention to it today. And they were talking about how people in Brazil are watching more of you remember that program, Everybody Hates Chris? Everybody hates Chris. And because they're like, colorism is such an issue over there. Oh gosh, I wish I had paid more attention. I was listening to this podcast on my way to work. And they were like, again, it's just down to, because colorism is such an issue, people wanted to see more representation from the darker skinned people. So that is now like one of the biggest shows. That show was, like when we were growing up, it was a big thing. But now you find that it's one of the top films to watch in certain places in Brazil, because people of a certain color are now like, oh, you know what? That's what I look like. That is me on TV, and it's okay. So there's a lot more acceptance of things like that, of like, acceptance of who you are, because you can see, and then it makes you feel like you can watch stuff that represents you on TV. And it's so interesting that you should bring it up, actually, because now it's coming into my head. Like, I don't know if have you heard about the Dave Chappelle scandal as well, where he's said to people to boycott his show off from Netflix, because I think HBO kind of owned him. Well, it's not HBO, it's Comedy Central owned him, his name, everything. So Netflix kind of bought the show from, I think, Comedy Central. Don't quote me on this. And he has been like, oh, you know what, don't do it, because at the end of the day, these people are getting richer on my name, yet I am not being paid for it. So that's a whole other scandal, another segue of discussion. But my point being is, like you mentioned, that North-South divide. This is how people keep getting richer, using us as laborers in the South. Do you know what I mean? You get more money because I am consuming the content, yet I don't get it. I don't get as much as you do out of it.
Yeah. No, that is interesting. And the Everybody Hates Chris. I don't know if I listened to the same podcast, but then Tichina Arnold. I don't know how you say her name. Apparently, she is like one of the biggest stars in Brazil.
Really?
Because of that show.
It's so
like
crazy.
She is a star in Brazil. Like she is, yeah.
So, is that you listen to?
What's that?
So you need to tell me what podcast that is that you listen to. I thought you only listen to Galen Sky's podcast. Hey, you're cheating us. So
I do dabble here and there, but obviously try and maintain my original thoughts always. The Dave Chappelle thing is interesting. So because it was sold to Netflix and to HBO Max, so Netflix have pulled it because they were like,
after 18 minutes, and he went and he implored to them and said, you know what, I am not this. It was a contract that was drawn up like over 20 years ago or something, and he was like, oh, you know, I'm not. Even though they're getting money, I'm not getting as much money as they will. Do you know? And they pulled it, which I thought was really generous of them to do that. That is humane. And you know, you don't get that a lot.
Exactly. Yeah. So guys, let us know what you thought about The Social Dilemma. If you watched it, let us know, like, if you kind of work in tech and all that stuff. You don't have to work in tech, but just what are your thoughts on where we're going? Because I think, like you say, it's like human connectivity is just such a premium. Like we can't run away from it at this point.
Sure, yeah, for sure. It's been, I think it's really interesting, and I think if, like Nat is saying, if you're in tech or whatever it is, data collection, coding, and all this business, do let us know, because I think. Something else that we want to do is, as this season, we wanted to focus on learning. So if you are in tech, hit us up. We'd love to do a little We'd love to do a little episode with you, not a session, just to kind of increase our knowledge, you know, increase people's knowledge out there as well. Because, you know, sometimes you're in that field and you're like, oh, this is bread and butter. But for us others, like, it's interesting. So hit us up. Yeah,
definitely. No, thank you. Probably any
I said asante sana.
Okay, where can people find you on social media?
Xolie NC on Twitter. Hit me up.
At Malaika Diva on Twitter.
Yes.
And Getting Skies everywhere.
Yes, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. Subscribe to our channel, guys.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Bye.